What's up, guys? What's going on? Welcome back to the Odum and Andrea show. This is a podcast where we sit down and we get together and we talk about a book that I would say we read, the book that you've read.
Yep.
Because Andrea's the one that does the reading and I kind of ask the questions.
And you do the listening?
I do the listening. Yeah. And we kind of try to get somebody who's done something pretty interesting or cool in their lives, and we kind of see what lessons that we can extract from them and, apply them to our life, see what we can do to make our life a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much it, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And of course, I get to sit down with the most beautiful woman ever, which is my pleasure every week. And today we're reading Classified, Off the Beaten Path. And Classified is, let me just put that there. He is a Canadian.
Yep.
What is it? Would you say rapper or
Yeah,
hip hop
I'd say
artist or
rapper.
rapper?
I'd say rapper and hip hop artist.
Yeah. And it's actually funny because he's from right here in Nova Scotia. I don't know exactly where, but I guess we'll find out. But he's close by us because we moved here a couple years ago. So that's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we saw this, that he had a book coming out. I was like, oh, we should maybe just read this just to kind of see what's up.
Yeah.
See what comes from it. So excited to get into this.
Yeah.
Before we do that, of course, if you like any of the stuff we do, please head on over to our website, odumandandrea.com. All of our podcasts are there. And without any further ado, I will say, take it away.
So it's really cool because he literally lives up the highway from us.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He lives in Enfield.
All right. That's like, 20, 30, 40 minutes from us?
Like,
even less than that, I think.
Yeah.
Eh?
Well, yeah, like maybe 30.
Yeah.
Not even.
Yeah.
From us up the
That's
highway.
cool.
So it's pretty cool. So his actual name, shockingly, is not classified.
It's not classified, yeah.
His name is Donald Luke Boyd, and he was named after his grandfather.
Oh, Donald, that's funny.
Yeah, but no, everyone calls him Luke. No one calls him Donald.
No, people don't call him classified?
No, it's funny because he says, he's like, people will come up to me and start calling me classified, and he's like, I feel like if they don't 100% know me and aren't like those like true crazy fans, then those ones will call me Luke. But people that are just kind of like, they don't really know me too much, just know of me, they'll call me classified. And he's like, it's kind of weird.
Oh yeah. Well, does he have a preference as to what people call him?
He prefers Luke, I think, is what he says.
Oh really? Just call me Luke. So no one calls him Don?
No.
Yeah.
No. Because it's after his grandfather, so it must have been like, yeah, Donald must have been his grandfather's first name. So, and then that would get confusing.
So Donald, Luke, something?
Boyd.
Boyd.
Yeah. So
that sounds like a good old Canadian name.
Yeah, Donald. So, so he grew up in Enfield too. And his parents, he said they were strict, but not like crazy strict. And like they looked after them, but didn't spoil them.
Yeah.
And when he said when he was 2, he had to get tubes in his ears. Like some kids, that happens when you get so many infections, you get that fluid buildup. So you get tubes in to like drain that fluid.
Yeah.
But if you don't, like you can't hear.
Yeah.
And so he was saying like he didn't actually talk until he was 3, and he had a lisp at the same time. So it's always interesting to me to hear that when now he's like this amazing rapper.
Well, your whole career is
talks
based
for a
on
living,
your voice,
he raps for a
exactly.
living. Yeah, so it's kind of cool. So he talks like about his childhood and how he was this like super organized kid, and like when they would get together to play like street hockey, he would always like organize the teams and always make sure like he's looking at the scores and making sure all the scores are like appropriately being kept, and
like all the all the teams are fair and it's not like
I think
one team
he didn't get into that, but I think so. And so he said he wasn't sure if it was like in his like competitive nature or if it's like a control thing, or but also it sounds like he had a really hard time like sitting still, and like we've heard this a lot with people that have had kind of outside of the box lifestyles, is they're not able to just sit still and do a typical 9 to 5. Like, so I think he was one of those kids. The other thing is he has this like crazy work ethic, even from the time he was young. Like he's just has this crazy work ethic for things that he's interested in, obviously. So he always dreamed of playing in the NHL. Of course, what Canadian boy doesn't dream of playing in the NHL? And so he had 2 younger brothers, and they would all just like road hockey all the time. Yeah. And so now both him and his brothers now play in like a gentleman's league. So I'm like, oh, do we need to find out that league and go play with them?
What do you mean gentleman's league?
That's what he calls it. That's what he calls it in there. It was
gentleman's beer league.
Yeah.
It's usually beer
Is that
league.
what they call it?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Because you get all those guys that, you know, used to play or don't play anymore. You know, you get because then there's always like beers at the locker room afterwards.
Yeah.
But you get those guys that they don't skate anymore, but all they do is they just sit down and wait for a puck and they snipe it like posting in, because that's all they do is just kind of lays around.
And he's 6'4". That's
really?
how tall he is.
Okay.
Like, he's really tall. So that'd be scary on skates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's got a few extra inches there.
Yeah. So he said his dad worked for Air Canada, which it makes sense because Enfield's not very far from the main
from the
airport here.
But like he worked for Air Canada in what capacity?
I forget what he said in there.
Is he a pilot or
no?
But he's just like at the airport.
Yeah. And so he hurt his back, so it must have been like a physical thing. I can't remember what it was. He said he hurt his back, so he went back to school. And this is like
his dad.
Yeah, and this is like 90s. So his dad goes back to school for computer networking, because obviously that's what's kind of coming up at that time.
In the 90s, yeah.
Yeah, and so then he gets a job at Atlantic Canada's biggest telephone company, and he works there for a while.
What's that?
I forget what it's called. It's not something you would recognize, so they must have rebranded since then.
Maybe.
But I think that's one thing that his parents really did instill in him, was this like work hard ethic.
And develop your skills for something that
Exactly.
Yeah.
And his dad also really loved music, and so he would have buddies come over and they would jam out in the basement all the time. So he was around like live music from a really early age.
Yeah.
And so once he realized he wasn't going to be making it into the NHL, he just
which is like age 12.
Yeah.
Well,
I was like around 15, 16.
No, because I mean, a lot of times you're growing up and you're the best in your class or whatever, and you can keep going up, and then maybe once you reach, because 15, 16, that's like AAA and getting into juniors, and if you're like, oh, I'm only going to go to junior D or C or something, it's like, so much
it's
for
not going
that.
to happen for me. So he switched his focus to music.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he says this quite a bit as he's writing this book. Like, it never felt like work to him.
But
like
music?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It was just,
absolutely.
he just loved it. And and him and his brother would mess around. They would make like silly videos, almost like kind of like Weird Al type videos as well. And so, and
his
now
brothers or his friends, you said?
His brother. I think probably his friends too, but Mike, he talks more about Mike, his brother, and now Mike does a lot of his music videos for him.
Oh, cool.
So, which is really cool. So when he was 12, he heard, and so how old is he? So he's 44. So he was born in 77. So he's like 3 years older than us.
Yeah.
So around kind of the same time. So because I remember hearing Run DMC's Tricky too. So he heard that and he was hooked. Like he was just like, I love this.
Mm-hmm.
So he would take, apparently, I think it was the Tricky song. There's this big long instrumental part at the kind of the end of the song that there's no rapping to. So he would rap over that instrumental part, and he just fell in love with doing that.
Yeah.
So he would take a lot of these like beats or whatever and just rap over them and just kind of practice and that sort of thing. And so he said like he did a lot of like lip syncing challenges like in high school as well and school, and he loved being on stage. And so then he would kind of start to write his own rhymes and do this kind of rapping over like other beats and kind of thing. And so he would go at school dances and at like little talent variety show type things, and he just loved the rush of performing.
Being on stage.
Yeah, which you've said that too when you played guitar in your band in high school.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how much excuse me to bring this up now, but a lot of the stuff resonates with me because music was like my passion. I just loved it so much, and it's like none of it is work at all. It's just you just play it because it's fun, and I'd play all the time. And it's too bad. I don't know, for whatever reason, I never pursued it because I think for me early on, it's always been school is literally the only path.
Well, that
to success.
That was not you thinking.
No, but that's what was drilled into me, and that's what I believed, obviously. So I didn't even know anything about even thinking about having a career in music or whatever. It wasn't like, I listened to the Tea Party, because I want to be like them one day. And it was, there was a little bit of like, oh, if I had a band or whatever, that would be really kind of cool. But it was never thought of as it could even be a remote possibility for me. And then there was also a lot of things too where I wasn't even allowed to play music because I'd rather do that than do any homework or anything like that. So, but that feeling of being on stage and performing, like I never did very much, but we just had like Battle of the Bands and stuff like that. So, but performing in front of people and seeing kind of the joy that you can bring into someone by performing music, because I think music is, you know, I guess outside of mathematics, you know, a universal language, right? Something 100%. That even if you can't speak to somebody, you can just get down with the beats in music because it's kind of the same. He talks
a lot about that. We'll get more into it, but he talks a lot about it's the exact same thing that you're saying.
Interesting. So yeah, I think we will talk about this on our website a little bit more, actually. I think a lot more, because I mean, music was for me my first love. Sorry. But you know what I mean? And it's something that to this day that, you know, you try not to have regrets, but I definitely regret not
100%
keeping that up at all, because I love music. And, you know, every once in a while I try to pick it back up again, but, you know, then life gets in the way. And then that's the problem with the mindset for me. It's like you can't let life, quote unquote, get in the way with something that you actually enjoy doing, because as far as I know, you only live once. And if you're not spending the time doing the things that you enjoy, that bring you fulfillment and happiness and purpose, then what the hell are you doing here? So, it's, at least for me, it's going to require a huge shift in mindset or whatever, but being able to incorporate music into my life is something that I need to do. And I wish that I would have kept it up, but anyways,
it's interesting that you take that, because when you were playing in your band, like how many of them were you?
I mean, there was 4 or 5 of us. It was always alternated, but there was just me and Hassan were like the core, because he was a drummer and I was a guitarist, so it was just kind of 2 of us, and we'd have alternate people that would kind of come and go.
But the thought of that is so I start to get sweaty hands, because I played in band in high school, but it was like the big, like
the orchestra.
Well, we didn't call it an orchestra. But I don't think you can, because we didn't have strings.
Oh, right.
So I don't think you really can,
band,
but it was band.
It's just all the flutes and the airs and the percussions. And
brass.
And,
exactly. And for me, like, it wasn't about playing in front of people. It was about how so many people can come together and everyone has different parts.
And create something.
You create this thing that's bigger than yourself. And that was something that was, when I was in there, I was like, oh my gosh, this is the most amazing thing that people can do this. Like, this is so cool. And I was totally hooked. And it was the same thing. I would have like music class with my flute, and I would study for everything else and then leave that, like, save the best to last to like work on, because you would have like oral or you know, exams or whatever. So I would always leave that last, because it was the best thing I'm like, oh wow, I'm gonna have to practice playing this, like oh, it's so hard. But no, it's amazing. And it was the same thing. I was in choir, so I loved choir. I loved using just like your own self, your own
instrument.
To sing, and like all the different voices together.
Singing is the best.
I love singing.
I wish I could sing. Well, we should do it. Oh yeah, we always talk about things. You know, creating things for music. It's like, why aren't we
doing
playing more music? I love playing in band. Playing out for I don't know. You play for like parents and graduation and all kinds of things?
We went on trips too, and we competed a lot. We competed a lot. We competed international, like in the States, and then and like interprovincial, and then even like that Kiwanis, like within like your city or whatever. We did that too. So we did lots of competitions.
I love that.
It was awesome.
You were a flutist?
I was a flutist.
I played trumpet.
It's cool.
Yeah, trumpet was cool.
Yeah. So while other kids his age were partying, he was just working on his craft. This is what he was doing. He wasn't one of those kids that was, like a partying and messing up and everything like that. So when he was 17, I think, I don't know how, but his friend kind of got him a show at this Cafe Ole, OLE, here in Halifax. I don't know if it's still operating. I would have to look it up. I didn't do it. But it was him and his friends, and they were rapping together, and they called themselves the Celtic Rebels. I don't know where that name comes from. Even he says, yeah, it's like a weird name.
Well, it's like your kids. When we were even messing around in high school, we came up with like Grease Monkeys or something as a name. It's like, what does that mean? It sounded cool at the time.
So then he goes to, they go to kind of like a bigger, like rap, I guess, concert or something, and they perform there. And I guess there's like 200 people. So it's pretty, like obviously bigger than high school. And there's some kind of like local famous people that are there. And one of the guys, I know I don't think you watched this show at all, but the Trailer Park Boys.
No, I know of it. Yeah.
So it's a pretty big show because it's,
I know.
It's filmed here.
Oh,
I think in Dartmouth. And I think,
are they Canadian?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Like they're like, I'm pretty sure they're all from like around here.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah. And it's filmed in Dartmouth, I'm pretty sure.
So anyways, Johnny Knoxville, right?
I don't think it is Johnny Knoxville.
Isn't he one of the Trailer Park Boys?
I don't think, no, he's what's Jackass, right?
Oh yeah, it's different then. Maybe I get those two confused.
I think you must get them confused. Yeah, so it's a mockumentary sitcom television series.
So Jackass is the ones where they do those stupid
trips. Yeah, so the show follows the misadventures of a group of trailer park residents, some of whom are ex-convicts, living in the fictional Sunnyvale Trailer Park in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia.
No.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I should watch it. Is it good? Do you like it? Yeah.
I've never watched it. I guess it's never really been my
thing. It's the one, the guy that has the really thick glasses as well too.
Yeah, Bubbles. Yeah. So
well, maybe we should watch it because I always got it confused because I thought I was like, I don't want to see a bunch of guys do a bunch of stupid stuff.
No, yeah, you're totally.
Yeah, maybe I always.
It's supposed to be pretty funny. I think. What was that one?
Well, it might be, especially if it's Canadian.
What's that one that's? Well, yeah. What's the one that's filmed near Listowel? I forget the name of that one. That one's Kilkenny. That's a Canadian. You didn't watch?
I haven't heard of it.
Oh, it's hilarious, and it's filmed in Listowel. That's why my brother and sister-in-law, they love it because it's really funny. I've seen clips. It's really funny. I think it's kind of like a similar thing. They just kind of make fun of like local type stuff. Okay. So, yeah. My stepdad loves Trailer Park Boys. So yeah. So anyway, so that guy was there, and so they went there, and he kind of meets a producer at this concert, I guess.
This is the first one he's given.
Yeah,
and it's like already he's kind of discovered a little bit. That's kind of cool.
Well, not discovered, but he meets this guy.
Yeah,
and
you make connections.
Right? Yeah, and so then he would always cut school to go to this producer's house and like rap over his beats and use all of his equipment to kind of make his raps.
This is why I said I always wanted to have like a studio, right? Yeah. So you have a place where people can go and just play music. Like, sorry, I'm just gonna totally interrupt. One of my things that I remembered of like, oh, this would be really cool. This was kind of just at university. It's like, what if we had a place, basically a studio where, like think of a producer's house where you have the soundproof room, but then you have all the instruments in there. People can go and play and you record everything.
Yeah.
But just have it as a place where kids can go and like, you don't charge them anything. It's just a place where they can go, get out of trouble, get out of the streets.
Do something creative.
Do something, exactly. And learn the process of music and the recording, audio engineering, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I have no idea how you make money from that, but that wasn't a concern for mine. It's just a place where people can go to create music and be around something like that. Because it's just like, whenever you're getting together with, like I said, you can get together playing, like I'd play at high school all the time, right?
Yeah.
You have all kinds of people that would sit around or join in or play guitar or whatever, or ask me to play something. And it's like, it wasn't like only these kids. You know how there's different groups, right?
Yeah,
whatever.
Of course.
They all can come around and come together, right? And enjoy music. So, anyways, yeah. Yeah.
So, but it was becoming expensive for him because the guy was charging. He said it was like a good deal. It was like $60 for 3 different beats. But he's like, it was kind of getting expensive. And he's like, if I can get my own sampler and make my own beats, and I guess the sampler would cost like $200 or something like that. Yeah. And he's like, it's better to make your own beats to rap over anyways. Like there's nothing like that.
Well, it's original.
So the
a little bit harder back in the day then in the 90s
to do
the technology. Now it's like, well, you have a phone.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? Then he talks about that a lot too. How it's like a different technology is just
it's a level playing field. You're literally using the same tech that the pros are using.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's exactly.
The one thing he talks about too is he's there and he's doing his beats, and he says he said, he says this was when he was like 15 or 16, and he's saying, I would say shit like, I hit you with a baseball bat and my gat I guess was a gun back in the 90s rap hip hop, and my gat goes rat-a-tat-tat. He's like something like that. And so the guy who was like recording with producer, him, he said, he cut the beat and said, class, do you have a gun? He goes, no, but this is what all the guys I listen to rap about. Right. And the guy says, man, just rap about your real life. Don't be acting up in here.
Yeah.
So
that's true. It's like you gotta talk about killing people,
it's
whatever.
It's like a white guy from a small town in Atlantic, Canada rapping about this. So, and he says, I think
Did he call himself classified?
He must have, because he said class, yeah. So, so it's interesting, and I think that was kind of a real pivotal moment in his career where it's just like, just be authentic and just rap about what you know and what your life is, because that's how you really connect with people. And he says one of his...
Reminds me of John Lajoie a little bit.
John Lajoie. Oh my God, he's literally everyday ordinary. What is that one?
Everyday ordinary guy. Or just an ordinary guy? I don't know. Oh my
God, it's that. It's one of my favorite things ever.
Yeah.
So who he really says that he drew inspiration from in this time was Kanye West, because he said he was just rapping about regular shit that people were going through, and there was like no frills to it. It was just, you know, this is life kind of thing. So eventually he graduates high school and he goes to, you're gonna laugh, he moves to Halifax and he goes to Compu College.
Compute?
Not even. Compu.
Compu?
COMPU College.
Is that a thing?
Compu College. Well, it's like one of those. It's like, it's not like a provincial college like that they have. Like Fanshawe in London is like a recognized bigger college where you could go and get like a nursing degree back in the day when you could get it from college.
Right.
Like it's not one of those. It's just like one of those like little ones that you just go for like security guard.
Or like a couple months or you get your certificate for whatever.
Yeah. So it's kind of like.
Not a scam, but
kind of a scam. kind of a scam.
Like a scam degree.
Yeah. Like it's not where you want to go.
Well, did you look at the website? Like what kind of stuff do they have?
He said it's not even around anymore.
Oh, well,
yeah. So it's like, it's not a good institution. And so he said the reason he wanted to go there though was because they said he could learn audio engineering.
Yeah, there you go.
Which turned out to be bullshit.
Oh, really?
And
because they don't have the gear or the equipment. Yeah.
And he says it. He's like, "Fuck you, Compu College."
Well, look who gets the last laugh, I guess.
So he didn't really get into any like booze or drugs at all when he was at this time. And he says, I think why I've been able to keep my career together as long as I have is because he didn't get into any real booze or drugs heavily. And he says, staying focused on what I need to and avoiding the things that will pull me down. He does definitely, goes off on a little bit of a spiel here about marijuana, and like he definitely smokes every day. So that's one thing, but.
And he still does?
Yeah, he still does. Yeah. He saes he tries.
Well, that's funny though.
He says he tries to
consider that drugs.
I know.
He's like, oh, I don't do drugs. And you smoke every day.
Every day.
That's
and
a drug.
He says like he's tried to stop, and he's just like, his wife is like, you're miserable. Like, please don't stop.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting.
I won't step into that.
No.
This is not a relationship advice podcast.
No, yeah. So while he's in Halifax going to Compu College, he's also at the same time like working again at like his craft and trying to do the rap game. And so he forms.
He's trying to do the rap game.
So he forms a group called Ground Squad. And what's really cool about this is he says he brought like who he thought were like the best rappers in the area together to be part of this group.
Right.
And
like an NWA or Wu-Tang Clan thing.
Yeah, and the cool thing is like, and I love this, he's like, I was like the worst rapper in the group, but that's what you want to be, right? Because then you are forced to like level up, which is like, that's exactly what you want to be. Yep. But the thing is like no one was as committed as he was, like, because again, like you'll see this throughout his book and his life, like his work ethic is unreal. Like he's just always working. And so he says
that marijuana.
Well, he wasn't really super smoking at this time. he says, I could be in the studio doing it as much as possible. I didn't need to rely on anyone to make my dream a reality. The buck stopped with me, even though the bucks were never really the reason I did music. And there weren't many bucks stopping in my mailbox then.
No, yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah. So I love
it. Reminds me of a story I heard about U2. And when they were just youngins in high school or whenever they formed, they weren't like very good. Like all the other bands would just beat them.
Okay.
But then it's like, but what they had is the work ethic and to just keep playing and practicing every single day, hours and hours at a time. And look at U2 now, right? You know, like it's all about putting the time in. Well, and mastering your craft.
It is. And what's interesting is what he says, talent, he says this later on, that talent only gets you so far. Yep. It's the work. Yep. Like it's the work that you put in.
Yep.
And he says he eventually makes his own, like this is kind of jumping ahead. He eventually does like make his own like record label. Yep. And he does like produce for like a bunch of these young and up and coming rappers. And what's really cool about the label was it was more like kind of local people that he wanted to kind of give a chance to, I think.
Right.
And that he really believed that like their music needed to get out there because it was really great from his perspective.
Yeah.
But he talks about some beefs he has with a couple of them, and it's all because they were not willing to put in the effort that he wanted them to in order to become successful. Right. So that's always any beef quote unquote he has with anybody, it's all because they're just not putting in the work.
Right.
So
I really and these are guys that he signs too, or then I guess he can cut them as well too if they're not going to put in the work.
Exactly. So so after comp college he gets.
Did he pass or did he get his degree?
Yeah.
What did he get it in?
I don't
Not
know.
Audio engineering?
No, it was some sort of computer stuff. And he ends up getting a job at a help desk at the same place where his dad works at this.
Air Canada somewhere?
No.
Oh, right. At something. The communications, whatever place.
Yeah. So, but then there was like a bunch of layoffs and he could have chosen to be, but they were like, oh, well, we do have another spot for you rather than the help desk. We can put you somewhere else. So you can either like take your severance and because I forget, he had been working there maybe for a couple years. So you can either like take your severance or you can have this job. Money. And so he's just like, I don't want this. I can't work a 9 to 5. And so he has savings and he takes his severance and he's like, I'm going to try and make this work. I'm going to give myself a year. That's how long this money will last. I'm going to try and make it work. Mm-hmm. And so he's 21 at this point. And so he gets kind of like a small independent deal with, they're called UrbanNet Records.
Okay.
But it was just like basically kind of releasing his stuff just within Canada. So and he was also making money producing music for other people at the time. Like he didn't have a label at this point, but
people come in and say I need a beat or whatever.
Yeah, or I'm going to use your equipment and that sort of stuff. So he would make money too. And he was actually, it looked like he has like this little sheet in the book where he has like a list of like all the beats he sold and all that kind of stuff. And he was making actually not bad money for these beats. Like I was kind of surprised. So he makes his first album called Trial and Error, and then he goes out and tours that all over Canada and just like on a Greyhound bus, and he just loved performing, especially.
But like a not his own personal Greyhound bus. He like actually.
Oh, it was like with a bunch of other people. Yeah.
On his, so it wasn't just him.
Yeah.
As a solo artist.
Yeah. No, there was like a bunch of people like going around,
right, just playing different shows or whatever.
Yeah, and it wasn't like anywhere big, right? No. Like they would stop in small towns, and that's what he would love, was to stop in small towns that that had never had a hip hop artist come, but they loved like they would really wanted to see hip hop, but so like no one was there. Some
bar owner or whatever would pay him like whatever, a couple $100 come play.
He talks about a couple CD clubs actually, or one CD club in London that I remember from when I lived there, and he's like, it was super sketch. And then eventually this place burns down.
Right. Yeah.
So, and he just loved like being able, that connection he was making with people. And one thing he says,
was he doing originals at this time, or was he doing lots of cover?
It was all his own. Yeah, it was all his own at this point. And so he says, one thing he says is like one of the reasons that he was successful was because he failed early. And I think I've heard other people say that too, about failing early, because then you can learn from your mistakes early. So he says whether...
And they're not as costly, your mistakes.
Yeah,
right?
yes, exactly. And he says whether it was being the worst rapper in Ground Squad, or learning how to make beats at the level I wanted to, or learning how to record right, lots of rejection with like record labels, or being my own manager and putting shows together. It was successful in the end because I failed early. So I learned not to repeat those mistakes and then go back at it again. So that's definitely, but yeah, I think it's, because they're not expensive as well. So, and so he recorded the album, and then he just tours it. And so the tours is where you make the money. So he says what I make in record sales, I make in by doing 3 shows. So that's where the money is in touring.
So is it because he's getting a deal in terms of how many tickets get sold as well too?
There must be.
So he's big enough then to attract an audience then, or fans at this point.
Yeah, or the people that are with him as well. So that he's touring with.
Right.
So, but that's one of the things that he said. So yeah,
that's interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Well, I do
too.
know. I mean, that's why. I mean, these big bands they go on huge tours because they sell all these tickets, and I'm sure they get a cut of the profits, right? So it could be huge. But I wonder what it's like for like up and comers and how that works, or whether it's just like, hey, come play at my pub, I'll give you $300, kind of thing, right? But
exactly. Yeah. So he does. So before he goes out on tour 2, he has met his like wife at this point. She's like girlfriend, but his wife at this point. And
she's from here too?
Yep. He meets her in Halifax. And so he says like she's always like really supportive, even when he's going out on tour. Like obviously that's difficult on a relationship, but she's just always been supportive. There's been like no drama with her. And he said he thinks that because there was no drama in in any of his relationships, really, with his family, with her, with anything, that really helped him also be able to focus just on the music and like being an artist.
Well, he's not going, like the Rockstar movie where like after every show there's just crazy orgies or whatever going on. I think that helps with the marriage. Yeah,
I think so too. So, and he also like his brother goes with him as well, like his brother Mike. And his brother Mike I think this is why it's important to have siblings. Because they keep you honest. Yeah. And he's like, Mike was his biggest hater and would always tell him if he thought a rhyme sucked or a beat sucked. And he's like, it really helped me. And he's like, then I don't want to be surrounded by yes men. Like I want people to tell me if something sucks. So
that's what I always tell you. It's like, how is this? That's so great. This is the best thing ever. It's like, it's not. So how about a little bit? But it's one thing to be supportive. Like, oh, this is really good. Like, or even if it's like, this is one of the best things that you've done. This is great. Yeah. But you know what? Have you tried this, and this? Because here's where you can improve. Yeah, absolutely. That type of, it's like the constructive stuff, right? It's not like, oh, that shit is garbage. Just be like, okay, well, this doesn't make sense or whatever. And it's just to provide that feedback to allow people to grow and get better. Yeah, but I think when you ask me things, I know I don't know about them. Like at least like this, like his brother knows, has like knowledge. And sometimes when you ask me stuff, I'm just like, no, it's for sure. I don't know. Looks good to me. No, I totally get that. But some things too, it's like if you hear a song and you're like, oh, I don't like it. Be like, okay, well, why? Well, I think the lyrics are stupid, or maybe this beat's a little bit too slow. So at least that's what I mean. You can give that type of criticism for that. Yeah. The only thing I say is I'll just say it because. Like when Maya loves drawing and she's doing all her drawing all the time, I'll be like, oh, that's really good. But I'll be like, oh, well, have you tried doing this? Or maybe you could try fading out the background a little bit more, or just try using different types of brush strokes. So I'll give that feedback to not be like, not to shit on everything, but to like, there's always room for improvement. Be a harder critic to push people to do a little bit better. Of course. But in a nice, respectful way. I guess me being a father would do it a lot different than I would if I was a sibling. 100%. Siblings would be probably a lot more more blunt. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. But if you have the right mentality, which he obviously does, to take it as constructive and to not take it to heart, to be like, oh, he thinks I'm terrible. It's like, no. Exactly. No, that's good for him. So it's like he had the all the right circumstances. Set up for him, but of course it doesn't matter. And then mindset too, and work ethic. He still made it all happen, but you know, good for him to recognize that and to go for it.
And he was really connecting with the fans. Like the tours, the crowds would just like kind of get bigger and bigger. The venues that he's playing at would get bigger, but he wasn't, no one from the industry was knocking at his door to give him a deal. And so
is that because Canada thing maybe?
Well, he wondered, I think it's a couple things. So he wondered if it was because he wasn't like from Toronto or Montreal.
I was going to say, does he know Cardinal Official? Because that's probably around the same time too, eh?
Yeah.
He's in his 40s now, isn't he?
Yeah.
From Toronto,
yeah. And also because he didn't rap about typical rap things. He wasn't saying, I'm gonna smoke you. I don't know.
Look how, you know,
I don't know. He's not talking about
I used to listen to that stuff all the time.
TNA and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So he thinks that was probably, and even at this point, because the music industry in Canada was kind of shit, the government was giving out grants to like make videos and like other grants and stuff like that. And so he still wasn't even getting the grants. Eventually he does. Eventually he is able to.
That's the thing. Yeah. Well,
yeah. So, so he says to, at this point, I wasn't expecting a handout, so I was going to keep my head down, producing my albums, and hold my head high when I reemerged back to the sun for my shows. If no one in the industry would help or even acknowledge the success I was having, then fine. I would do it all by myself with just the help of my friends and the people around me. And you, the fans, are the people who really mattered.
Yeah.
So I loved that. I was just like, yeah, fuck the industry, do it yourself. And then that success is even sweeter because you're a self-made person, like you've just done it.
Yeah. And it's funny because this is at an interesting time too. I think this is probably a little bit before Napster, I would imagine. And that whole shakeup. And now it's even crazier now with, you know, the way that people can just publish their own things by putting it on YouTube and SoundCloud and all these other platforms where you're even on Spotify.
And then you just promote it on socials and exactly. Yeah, it's a different thing.
Have you heard of this? I think it's Tom MacDonald. Have you heard of him?
I don't think so.
So he's done a lot of, he does a lot of rap songs, but he raps a lot about like politics and what's going on.
Oh, that's interesting.
So you'd love this stuff because he has one. Something like it just talks about like snowflakes and one of that. Like it's like all government stuff. But he just publishes his own stuff. He just kind of puts it out there. And I think he had it on Apple at one time. I don't know if it got pulled down or whatever, but you just self-published.
Yeah.
And like, it's like his was going like #1, but yet like the music industry, like, you know, the Rolling Stones top song, whatever it is, I don't even know what it is. Like the Billboard top, his stuff wouldn't get on there, even though he sends them the actual data of like how many records I've sold or whatever. Cause you just sell them online on your own stuff. So the whole industry, again, it's like a, you know, it's like a tight knit club. If you're not in it, we're going to not let you get out there. Right. But now you can do it on your own, but there's still lots of crazy things going on.
There's gatekeepers.
Yeah.
What's
like
really,
anything, right?
Like what I was just going to say, what's really interesting about this is it's the same thing with Jordan Peterson's books.
Right. Exactly.
They won't put him on the bestseller list, even though he's fucking killing it. Everyone. But it's not on the list because reasons.
Well, even some of these bestsellers are not even bestsellers at all.
No.
Like they're just, there's some kind of expose on the whole, like the New York Times bestseller list. Yeah. It's just a bunch of bullshit.
It's a bunch of bullshit.
It's like whoever buys it, or if they have a reputable whatever to promote that, like the publisher.
Yes.
You know, if they're successful or they're rich and they can kind of buy their way onto the list.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but yeah, it's not actually just numbers sold, which is what I would love to know. I just want to know what books are being sold. And I think a lot of things are like that now, where a lot of things that don't support, this is getting into
the weeds,
but a lot of things that aren't public, you know, narrative nowadays are being kind of suppressed, which is really, I don't know if it's happening more now than it was before, but I think we notice it more. But yeah, like these songs that people are finding popular, they're not out there, or these books that are popular aren't there, that are just going against the narrative, I guess you can say, right?
Yeah.
Which is just so weird. It's just just let people decide for themselves. You know, like, do you just think everyone's stupid that they can't enjoy music or enjoy the books and just know what people are saying and kind of knowing kind of what the pulse of things are going? It's very strange.
Yeah.
Anyways, but yeah, the music industry is. Anyways, I'm going to be interested to see if he goes into a little more detail about the industry itself, or maybe it's just more his story, but. Anyways.
So, and he couldn't understand, like, he was selling this was his trial and error
album.
And so he was selling like 5 to 10,000 albums of this, and then
That's what he sold.
And he's crushing it over other rappers in bigger cities in their sales, and also he's touring so much. But these other guys
just in Canada at this point,
but these other guys in Toronto and Montreal, they're not doing any touring, they're just staying local. So he's able to reach such a wide audience by touring.
The guys probably don't want to do that. Traveling across Canada is
no joke.
Huge,
it's huge.
5,000 kilometers coast to coast,
and I think as much as performing would be awesome, I think it would be fucking exhausting.
Oh yeah. Especially if you're traveling by bus, you're not flying around here and there. And
so eventually he gets noticed, and
there's going to be a point where you're just too big to.
Oh yeah. So, but it's the show promoters that are noticing him still.
The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, when his cousin Ashley starts singing, and then he hears her for the first time, and then they have her sing in the booth, and then he cuts away to Will Thinking, and then he goes back to her. It's just like dollar signs. So I'm like, these producers these show guys are like, oh, I see dollar signs here. So that's too big to ignore because I can make a lot of money off this guy.
And so,
which is okay. I mean, that's fine. That's how things work, right? So
and so he ends up being asked to tour with Ludacris.
Oh wow!
Which I freaking love Ludacris. Like Ludacris is on my running list. I'm obsessed. So what's crazy though is he doesn't know if Ludacris had a hand in this. He doesn't think so, but Ludacris's management came and asked him to tone down his show, because he was opening for Ludacris,
because it was too much. It was too, holy shit.
And they were like, you're taking away from Ludacris's show,
like the vibe.
You need to tone it
but isn't that the whole point, is to pump up the audience before someone opens?
I guess
I'd like to know what his shows were like then.
I know. That's what I thought. I was like, holy shit. You're opening for Ludacris and they're telling it's too much. It's unreal to me. So, and what he says about this, he's like, I get it. It's part of the industry. Just the part I don't agree with. I'd never tell someone opening for me to slow down, especially if they're an up and coming artist. If they're killing it, that's great. And it just means I have to step up my own show even more.
No. But that's why he doesn't know if it was Ludacris or not. Yeah. Because, I mean, again, I don't know his story as well, too, but I'm sure he worked pretty hard to get to where he is as well, too.
Of course.
But yeah, if you have a whole entourage of public relations people, people being like, hey, whatever. But
yeah. So, and he's like, and then he says that he's like, they're just looking out for their guy. I get it, but I would never. I don't agree with that. I never do that. What this reminded me,
he's not going to go to Ludacris himself. So what you doing, man? Tell me.
Jesus Christ, I'm not going to.
Did they talk at all? Did you engage with him?
No. Oh well, I probably, but he didn't. He didn't bring it up. He didn't say anything. So, but what's interesting to me is I love that attitude that he has, because I hear that with Joe Rogan when he talks about comedians and bringing he always brings new and up and coming comedians with him when he goes on tour to
Dave
open
Chappelle
for him.
Talks about this all the time as well too,
and how important it is. And he's just like, it's important. There's space for everybody. There's enough space and enough room for everybody. You don't have to have this
it's not
mindset of
us versus them.
Yeah. So, and I loved that, and I think it's also about kind of mentoring the next generation, which I think is really important. Absolutely. Because how can we improve if we're not enriching and encouraging the next people?
No,
so
I
loved that.
Yeah, my philosophy always with things is you just share everything.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, especially in business, I know oh well, I can't publish this now because I don't want someone else to steal it. Yes. It's relax. Yeah. No one's gonna steal your shit because they can't steal you. Right? You're your own thing.
That's a really good point. That's a good quote.
If you're the one who's it's got someone else's probably has to say this. Good. But nobody can copy the stuff that you do, and if you put yourself out there and put your company or business, whatever, out there, nobody can replicate that. And if you're good at what you do and you have passion for it, people are going to see that and they're going to come to your product or whatever, even though somebody else can copy. I can go right now and I could recode a brand new Twitter in a day. Yeah. I can make a new Twitter. Yeah. That doesn't mean people are going to go to it. Or I can make another Facebook. I can make all this stuff, but that's not what's successful. So don't worry about sharing your things with the world. Yeah. Especially if you think it's going to benefit people. Yeah. It's unfortunate. I just hear that all the time.
I
It's
know.
like,
I hate that attitude.
I'm not going to put it out there because
I
someone's
hate
going to
that
steal
attitude.
it. Your idea, no, everyone has the next Facebook $1 billion. Everyone has.
Yeah.
The ideas they're worthless, really.
Yeah.
Everyone has ideas.
Put the time and effort into it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So he does end up getting some grants to make some videos, and they're played on. I don't know if is much music still a thing?
Oh God, how would I know?
I don't even know.
But they must have like MTV or.
Well, I think MTV. I don't know if much music.
I'm trying to think of when we go to hotels, what channels are there? There's definitely there's got to be MTV still there.
I'm pretty sure MTV.
There's some music stuff that's going on.
Yeah, I think there.
But anyways, I don't even know if they even play music at this point.
I know. I don't even know. But anyways, so his videos get played on. He talks about how some of his videos they were played on Much Music, but like at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
So he talks a little bit about that. It's kind of stupid.
What year are we talking about now?
I don't know.
And when is he touring with Ludacris?
I don't know. He doesn't give the dates, so I don't know. It's hard to.
I'm sure you could look that up, but it'd be nice to know what.
It'd be nice to know, yeah.
Like how his career's progressing
over
and
time.
like when these things are playing on Much Music.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so he gets on Much Music Rap City, which obviously is huge, and then he does win Much Music Video Award, because remember they had the big award show, Much Music Video. I remember it was pretty big, and it was.
I just remember the countdown and always standing by whenever there was a song I knew was going to be playing, so I could record it, because you had to record it on a tape to make your own mixtape. Yeah, it was brutal. Oh, those days were so crazy.
Yeah. Me and my brother were obsessed with the countdown.
All Canadian kids watch the countdown.
Him and me, we still have an open bet, because we would bet on who was going to win the number one spot. We'd bet on it. And I think the thing was we were going to bet on I don't know how many. And then whoever won the most had to buy the other one a CD. Oh, wow.
That bet is not going to be finished, because I don't think they do that anymore.
I know. So it looks like I'm just looking up on Wikipedia his career. So
that's okay.
It looks like it was late 90s, early 2000s.
We must have seen his stuff. I wonder, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure. So.
Because that obviously was the time that we were heavy into Much Music in the 90s.
Yeah. The late 90s, yeah, for sure. So, and then he talks a little bit here about why he was so drawn to hip hop. And he says, these people were telling real and vivid stories. I also loved the wordplay, the more hype tracks, and the music behind the lyrics. But the most appealing thing to me was that it was a glimpse into someone's life. So that was just kind of
I mean, cool. You can apply that to all music, I think, not just hip hop per se. Depends on how people write their lyrics or whatever, right? But yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So
because whether you're writing hip hop lyrics or just lyrics, they're lyrics, and a lot of people base them on their experiences.
Yeah. And then going back to the talent that he was talking about, he seems like he's a very loyal guy, because he's worked with the same DJ forever, and same with other people that come up. And he said he doesn't care if it doesn't matter if they're super talented. It's about how hard they're working to work with him.
You'll get the talent afterwards.
Yeah, exactly.
It comes with it.
So I just wanted to put that, because I thought that was really important. But the loyalty thing, he seems just such a loyal a loyal person.
Well, as long as you're going to put in the work, right? Yeah. From what it sounds like.
Exactly. So then his next album was called Boy Caught in the Industry. So it's kind of a play on words, because there's boycotting the industry, but also boycott in the industry. Yeah. So kind of that play. So I thought that was kind of cool. Yeah. So, but that was kind of a bit of a fuck you, because the industry wasn't knocking at his door. So this one was a bigger success, obviously. He just
have to listen to these to see what. I know, because I'm sure I've heard some of the tracks, but
I know. Yeah, it was.
I don't know his music well enough, except for Inner Ninja. And
I know. Yeah.
Does he talk about David Miles in this?
A little bit.
Okay, interesting. Because he's from here too, right?
I don't know, actually. Yeah. I don't know. So this is kind of when he starts to consider himself a success. He's kind of gone past obviously his year of I'm just going to try and work hard, and so he considers himself a success. And then realizes this can just be my job now, and Yeah, because he's playing to bigger and bigger crowds. But it's really funny too, like, he doesn't call this imposter syndrome, but I feel like it's kind of imposter syndrome because he's like, after every album that he releases, he's like, oh, this is going to be my last one. Like, it's not going to last. People are not going to like it. It's always, he always feels that way after he releases an album. He always thinks it's going to be his last one. So, but he was really smart because this is when he was able to start kind of investing in his future, and he bought some real estate. So then if it crashes and burns, at least he has something to fall back on as well. And the other thing he talks a lot about.
This guy's smart real estate or smart investing decisions as well too, which is fucking phenomenal.
Well, and the other thing he says too is it's also about like maintaining good relationships. So there's never like any, like he said, there's never any drama between him and his wife. He has great relationships with his family, his parents and his brothers and friends. And so, you know, when it doesn't work out, it's not like you have to come crawling back to the people you treat like shit, you know? So
does he have any kids?
They have 3 kids now. Yeah. 3 girls. Yeah. So, so then this, at this point when he starts his own record label, it's called Half-Life Records. And just sharing them with a wider audience. He did a song with Maestro Fresh Wes around this time too. And they were just talking about, in the song, I forget, I think it's like Hard to Be Hip Hop or something like that it was called, but it was talking about how the hip hop culture had kind of changed and that skill and technique weren't as important as being like flashy or talking about, you know, like street life and all that stuff. And again, for him, it's always about like being real and authentic. And he even says that
I think that's the key for longevity. Right. Yes. You can be the flash in the pan that's like fake or whatever, but people are going to see right through that. Or they're just going to chew through you, then move on to the next thing. Yeah.
And what's interesting is this is like fast forwarding a little bit, but he keeps this integrity, which I think is just so incredible. So he's asked by Naughty by Nature to come to New York, and I guess he was like, they were kind of hanging out in the studio. And I guess what they were doing at this point was they were writing like little rap pieces and then they'd send those little rap pieces out to like different companies to see if they wanted to use them for their commercials.
Okay.
So it's like, he doesn't say it, but it's like
stupid.
You're fucking Naughty by Nature and you're writing jingles for commercials. Like,
that's a lot of money though, I think.
Well, that's what he says. He's like, I was kind of surprised they were doing this, but it's like, I, you know, respect the hustle, like for sure. But so they wanted like a white rapper guy to be like rap over a white rapper guy because I guess they were having kind of more rock mixed with rap, and they wanted somebody like him to kind of come and rap to that part. And he's like, these are like huge heroes, right? Like by nature. But he's like, I took them home, and he's just like, I didn't feel it, so I passed. And I'm just like, the integrity to stay true to who you are, even when these are like huge, like legends.
Your heroes.
That is so huge.
It'd be for me if like, it's really tough. I know this wouldn't happen, right? But if like Led Zeppelin came and says like, oh, I need you to, you know, we want you to come out and lay down one of your tracks or one of your guitar riffs, I'd be like, yeah, you know what I mean?
I know.
Or they'd say something, if they'd say something like super crazy that I wouldn't be comfortable with, that would be really hard to let go.
Say no.
And I'll just say, just back in when we were talking about before about, you know, I played in bands and stuff. Like for me, like Led Zeppelin covers was like one of the biggest things that I love playing. I love playing Led Zeppelin. It was definitely my favorite band growing. Well, I don't say my favorite. I had lots of different bands that I really liked, but they were definitely Led Zeppelin, like Bob Marley, Jimi Hendrix, and the Tea Party.
Oh,
love the Tea Party.
Tea Party.
What was I gonna say? I don't know what I was gonna say now. But anyways, stuff that you love, and to stay true to yourself is that's gotta be really hard, especially looking up to your idols.
So huge. Yeah. So huge.
Anyways.
So he eventually hires a manager in 2007, and he also gets a booking agent, which makes his life 100% easier. I mean,
he was doing all this stuff.
He was doing everything. Yeah. He even talks about like he was like making like his own posters.
Like Photoshop kind of thing or whatever?
Yeah, like, well, not even. It's like using a photocopier to like get it all together. Like you take like little pieces, put it on the page, and just copy it.
Yeah.
So he's talking about doing all that.
Photoshop.
Yeah, and just like I think some of his his merch, I think he did
graphic
too.
Designer. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was doing everything and then trying to like have to like arrange the different places he was going to. Like that's plus making the beats and all the logistics. Like that's a lot.
But I see that because I totally understand the hustle because I do everything that I do for myself. You know, oh, do you need audio engineering? Oh, you need photography. Oh, you need graphic design work. Oh, you need hardcore coding. You need to go database. Like you do it all. But again, I think for him, he's like, I think he enjoyed it. I think he probably liked what he was doing, right? Course, because it's not work. Because for me, you have so much time in the day. Like if I was just doing say I doing music, right? I'm going to be a musician now. It's like all the different things that I would be doing that would be part of it. That's not even like music related.
Yes.
Like I got to make a website for this, or I got to make a poster for this, or I got to contact a venue and deal with them and figure out how I'm going to set up the equipment. I still would love doing all that stuff because I love everything almost around the industry. So, so I can see that. But then, it gets to a point. It's like, well, actually, I really need to now really figure out how I can free up more of my time to do the things that are going to be the most impactful to me, or really going to help me move forward, right? So then you hire a manager or whatever to deal with it.
Exactly. Yeah. And so what's kind of cool too is I think because of this, someone cancels on a tour. And so his manager is like, well, can you go on this tour? Like take this guy's place, because it's like these venues are huge. You'll be getting you'll be getting so much exposure.
So what do you mean? He was going on tour and like another band canceled? That was like an open for them or something?
There was a tour going on. Someone canceled that was supposed to be there. So they asked him.
Like a musician? Yeah.
So they asked him to go instead.
Oh, they asked Classified to go?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And so, but what happened is they had just had their first baby.
It's not the greatest time to go
so he was just like, it was really difficult for him to leave. But his wife is just so awesome. And she just like, she convinced him to go. She's like, look, this is an opportunity. Like you got to take it. Yeah. And because they still lived in like where he grew up, all their family was there.
Lots of help.
And I think the other thing too is her dad was in the Navy. So I think she was used to that type of lifestyle as well, with the dad not being home like all the time. So I think that was pretty cool. Yeah. And then he goes to Europe as well at that point.
So it's not just Canadian tour, it's a big tour.
Yeah. And so his next album is self-explanatory, and this is when he does get signed to a major label in Canada.
First time he gets to sign to release that album?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And so he signs with Sony Music Canada. So he signs with them. He said he was really hesitant because he felt like he didn't want people to see him, I think, as a sellout.
And because also with contracts comes obligations as well too, and sometimes they can have a say into your music.
So when he was really careful about this, he said
looking over the contract,
kept creative control of everything.
Right.
But what is helpful about signing to a label is then they pay for the marketing and they pay for a team of people to help you get it out. So I think that's why. And he felt like, you know what, I've done everything on my own for how many years now? I feel like I've proven myself, and now I can.
That's what you work towards. You want to get that. You want to get a partnership with someone that's going to help you propel you to even greater heights. And that's what a record label can do. Yeah. Because they have all the connections and all the money and resources to be able to push you out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so what was kind of cool about this album was, I don't know if you've heard it. You probably heard it on the radio. They actually play it on the radio here quite a bit. But it's O Canada. Remember?
Yeah, it's like I think so, because it's guitar, right?
I don't remember 100%.
There's been lots of Canada stuff. Anyways,
but it was like, I think, and also too, like the timing is just really good for him, because that single was released around the same time as the 2010 Vancouver Olympics.
Oh, well, he probably did that on purpose.
So it was like the unofficial anthem for those Olympics. So obviously that was his first gold and platinum single, because it just was like the perfect timing for it to happen. So, so then he talks about like a lot of the different kind of artists that he's worked with, and he talks about working with Jim Cuddy from Blue Rodeo.
Okay.
And so,
is he an actual band member, or is he more of a
Jim Cuddy?
Yeah. Is he the lead?
I think so.
Yeah, I don't know the names of the Blue Rodeo guys.
And my parents obsessed with Blue Rodeo.
Yeah.
They've
Well, they got some
always
good
loved
songs.
Blue Rodeo. Oh, they have a lot of really good songs.
Yeah.
But he says like he met him while he was playing in the Juno Cup. I didn't know this was a thing, but apparently, because the Junos are like the Canadian Music Awards,
Right.
and I never really paid much attention to them because sometimes it's kind
Well,
of
everyone's I'd still watch. See what
so
what's going on in the Canadian scene.
apparently they have a Juno Cup that I think he said Jim Cuddy organizes, where it's like all the famous artists
Play hockey
with like retired or
NHL guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm like, oh my God, that's
awesome.
the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah,
Get me on that.
Yeah. So anyway, so then around this time too, he builds they buy like a couple acres of property. They build a house, and this is all like within Enfield, and he builds his like dream studio in this house. Yeah. Well, separated from the house. I think so.
In a garage or whatever on the side. Yeah.
And so this is when he works on his next album called Handshakes and Middle Fingers. And he talks a little bit about kind of noticing people wanting to be his friend now that he's more popular. And he talks a little bit about, I think, people that were just kind of fake friends and just wanted to like ride his coattails and that sort of thing. So he talks about that a little bit. And
like
just
people from around here or whatever, people that used to know him before he wasn't successful?
I don't think so. I just think, people within the industry maybe and that sort of thing. So he talks about just having to be careful and like
for sure.
knowing who
Where
people's
were you before?
motivations. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, and so then eventually he releases his self-titled album with Inner Ninja.
Yeah.
And yeah, he talks a little bit about David Miles and just like it's such a different like
vibe
and a different sound than he's used to, but it becomes the biggest single in Canadian hip-hop history.
Oh yeah, that song was massive because it was a huge hit in America, right? So
yeah, and so what's kind of crazy is I don't know, like I'd have to go back and listen to some of his earlier stuff to see if I recognized it, but I don't think I really even, I think maybe I heard about him a little bit, but I remember it was in Waterloo and you played that song for me. Inner Ninja.
Oh, okay.
I was like, oh my God, this song is amazing. It's so good. So I freaking loved that song.
Yeah.
So then, that's when he gets calls from the American labels to go out. And so he signs with Atlantic. And so he's kind of like, I don't want to like tour at these little shitty places again in the US to promote it. Like I've kind of already done my time promoting like at
time to go at the Apollo shows. Kind of thing.
Yeah. So he's like, he kind of has to do it if he wants to promote it. So they set him up for some of these smaller ones. And he talks about this one lineup that he went to. It's the weirdest lineup I've ever heard. It was the Goo Goo Dolls and Courtney Love and him.
Yeah.
Like it's so weird. Isn't that like a weird lineup?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I don't go see no.
I don't know. So it was nuts.
How much are tickets to that show?
I don't know. It's so strange to me. So Inner Ninja went 6 times platinum. Yeah. So
which means it sold. Is that 600,000?
I have no idea. I don't
even know what that means.
I don't know.
Well, I don't know what it means, but it sounds good.
Yeah. So, and then he talks about, he got to play a show in Quebec with Wu-Tang and Wiz Khalifa. So he's obviously like, this is, where he's kind of getting big. The one story he tells, I love this story so much. I had to tell Mom because I was like, this is just so cool. So he's trying to put a song together called No Pressure. And I didn't know it was called that. It's kind of surprised me. But he was trying to, one part was like talking about like the East Coast, and so they wanted to get someone else to talk about like or rap about like the West Coast.
Yep.
And so they were like, oh, we got to get Snoop. Like obviously, who could better rap about West Coast than Snoop? And so I guess his people call up Snoop's people and try to see if they can get something together. And they're like, oh well, like Snoop's in Turo right now.
What?
Yeah.
What? What's he doing there?
He's in Turo working with the Trailer Park Boys.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just like, what are the chances?
Yeah, no kidding.
And like fucking Turo.
Yeah,
like,
I know. Like,
you just drive their Turo. Like it stays there.
Yeah.
So he's like, yeah, well he could maybe come to like your studio in your house and record. And he's like,
yeah.
What the fuck?
Snoop's coming to my house.
I know. It didn't end up that he went to Snoop's house. He ended up he goes to Turo, and they do the rap in the hotel. But still I'd be like, oh my god, Snoop's in Turo. Like I was like, oh my god, it's the craziest thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I love.
Imagine like walking down the streets like.
No. In fucking Turo.
Is that Snoop? No, it's not.
Can't be.
What the hell is he doing?
Can't be. Why is he in the shit town?
Yeah.
Okay, Turo's not a shit town, but
I love
it's a nice town. It's a nice town, but it's.
No, but it's just like a small town. You just don't expect someone like that there, right?
Canada. Yeah, it's so nuts. So, so and I love that's one of my favorite songs of him. I love that song with him and Snoop. It's so.
I have to remember what it is. What's it? It's called
No Pressure.
No Pressure. Yeah.
You would know it when you heard it.
Yeah.
It's really good. So and then he also
and they recorded it in like a hotel room. Which hotel?
I know, that's what I'm like. Oh, I need to know.
Is it the Holiday Inn?
Holiday Inn. So
that's all you get.
And then he kind of gets to like live his NHL dream a little bit. So when Sidney Crosby comes, because Sidney Crosby, for people that don't know, is from Cole Harbor, which is really close. Like
they're all close.
It's really close.
Yeah.
And so he got to play at Sidney Crosby's house like the 2 times that he won the cup or brought the cup home or whatever.
Like the play.
Like he like gives like a little concert or whatever.
Like that kind of play.
Yeah. And then
because does Sidney ask him to come out?
Yeah. Yeah. And then he said that Nathan MacKinnon. So who's Nathan MacKinnon?
He just won a cup with Colorado Avalanche.
Oh, okay. So what position does he play?
He's center.
He's center, but he's from here too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was even saying
Brad Marchand.
Yeah, but he was saying like Nathan MacKinnon got up on stage with him and was freestyling with
him.
Yeah. So so it's pretty cool. So that's kind of it. But he says he talks about why he thinks he was successful, and he says being reasonably smart, liking people, handling stress well, being honest, knowing my limits with drugs and women, being cheap, because he was like really cheap. All that was important, but the biggest thing to me was the willingness to work hard and being dedicated. If you play to your strengths and keep your head down, work and just keep going, you'll find your thing. And I don't mean a thing that makes you money. I mean a thing that makes you happy in life.
Yeah, and I think by default, not by default, but by extension, if you're happy, and again, it's not to say that you're happy every single second of the day, because it's impossible. Because there has to be something to counterbalance that, to know when you're in that kind of state.
Of course.
But if you're in a state where you're predominantly doing what you're doing, that does give you happiness and fulfillment, I think the money will flow through that. As long as you're smart enough to figure out how you can do various things to monetize. And in today's age, it's a lot easier. It's so much easier to be able to put your work out there and to have people, enjoy it and be able to make a living out of it. So yeah, I can't agree with that more, if that's a statement.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
And then he also talked about the one song that was released. It was like, again, perfect timing that it was released, the Good News song.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was like right when the pandemic.
Yeah.
And it was such a great song for the pandemic. So he just has like really...
And that wasn't written... I would hear that like it was written for that, but it just happened to...
It just happened to be released at that time. So, yeah.
My favorite song with him, I guess, I don't know if it's his song or it's more of a David Miles song, but it's the song So Blind. That's my favorite.
That's your favorite?
But again, maybe that's not a classified song. I think that's a David Miles song.
I like that song. My favorite song is She Ain't Gotta Do Much.
Yeah.
Obsessed with that song.
No, I know.
That song is on my running list on repeat. I fucking love that song. The video's
she's got to do a little bit. Well, I guess
she doesn't.
So she ain't got to do much. So that means you got to do a little bit. Yeah. You can't just do nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and he's just releasing now, what is it, like a retrospective and like a lot of like acoustic versions of his old stuff. Yeah. So, and then also...
I love acoustic versions.
And then also like obviously releasing this book at kind of the same time as that album was coming out. So... Yeah, I haven't had a chance to listen to...
Oh, so it's out now. We'll take a look at Spotify and see if we can...
Yeah, so I haven't had a chance to, like, listen to any, but...
I kind of want to drive by his place or find out where it is and just
want to be friends?
Well, no, not like...
Let's go play hockey.
You just said about Gotta be careful who you're friends with. No, but I just like to see what his house is like, and just to kind of see where the record studio is.
He posts pictures. Like,
oh, well,
they have like a huge.
Saves me some gas money.
They have a huge because he's really into skateboarding and stuff. So they have like a huge half pipe and all kinds of stuff. And him and his girls, they go out and they do all. And he posts videos of them doing the kind of cool stuff. So, but yeah, what's interesting is for a lot of his retrospected stuff, he has different artists kind of featured with him. So on one of his songs, I'm just looking on his website here, he has Julie Black.
Black.
Yeah,
I know the name. I can't remember. Yeah.
It's you love one of her songs, and I can't think of it either. But she's amazing, and I think pretty sure she's Canadian too. Yeah. So he is
right. Yeah, she had some really big songs a little while ago. I think. Yeah. I don't know what she's done recently, but that's just because I don't know people's names. I just know songs that I hear.
Yeah. So he has a bunch of people, like new people, kind of featured on some of these songs that he's re-releasing. Mm-hmm. So, which is pretty cool. Yeah. And it's funny because he posted some stuff, like, I think obviously for him, he loves performing. And so like not being able to perform, like he would post on Instagram, like, I'm going to be back. And then they cancel. And he's like, fuck, like this sucks. I just want to be able to go out perform. There. And
So is he doing anything now, or is there things still?
I think there is.
I don't know how happy he is about, Canada and everything being locked down and stuff like that. I don't think he was too happy about all that kind of stuff.
So he would put out stuff and then people would just tear him apart. So I think he just
stop putting stuff on there. That's the thing. We get things into politics. It's just like,
you can't.
It's just stupid. Yeah, you can't win.
Yeah. So he is.
But I mean, just in terms of, like you said, things are locked down. So then he's like, I can't go out there, because things in the States were opening up a whole lot faster than things in Canada. But I think now, at least this summer, you could probably go sing anywhere if there was, if he was so inclined.
Well, yeah. So no, he is on tour for this retrospected, and so he's actually going to be in September performing in Hubbard's, which is like super small. Just like
why don't we go?
Yeah, I was gonna say,
or at least try to go. See, that's the thing. We don't have any family around here that can take care of the kids.
Yeah. So
while we go check it out.
Yeah. So, and it's on Tristan's birthday. So,
oh, really?
Yeah. Well, there's two shows: Tristan's birthday and the day after. So it's kind of cool that he's.
She has some tickets. I thought the tea party was supposed to be here as well too at some point.
Fuck, we always miss the tea party. God damn it.
Yeah, it's like our pokeroo of.
It is
bands.
Our pokeroo. It is.
And then we're finally gonna go see it. Then like, nope, lockdown.
I know. I was so excited.
Yeah.
So freaking excited.
Yeah, but they come here every once in a while. I think they're gonna come here. I think they were gonna be here again. I can't remember.
That'd be cool.
Anyways. Yeah. All I get to see is Big Sugar. I've seen them like 100 times. I don't know how that happens. Oh, they're so loud though. Yeah. But Big Sugar, it's like they're playing. It's like, oh yeah, they did this song. Oh yeah, they did this song. It's like all these awesome songs that they have.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Anyways, so let's 1 to 10 in terms of a book to read. How do you find it?
It was a really fast read for me.
Yeah. Well, it looks like a smaller book.
Yeah. So what I liked about it, it actually really reminded me a lot about of Jordan Tutu's book, because it's very conversational. You can tell it was him writing it and not a ghostwriter. Right. It was super conversational. You felt like you were kind of talking to him on the phone, because at the end of chapters, he's like, oh, I got to work on this, so I got to go. And he does talk about the shooting that happened a little bit, because that happened while he was writing it, and he was just like talking like, how do you even, because Enfield was where they got him, just not far from them.
Right. It's at that gas station, I think.
Yeah, and so he's talking like, how do you talk to the kids about this? Because I think two of his two older girls would kind of understand, but his younger one, I don't think he doesn't think would. But anyway, so that was kind of interesting. Also, like, there's like lots of pictures that like throughout the book, so it's makes it like super fast. And then he puts some of the lyrics from his songs within, so you can understand like where those lyrics kind of came from, which was really cool. And then the whole back of it is is just all the lyrics of all his songs. So which is kind of cool too. As you can tell, he's like really proud of like his writing, like writing his songs.
But you're not answering my question. 1 to 10.
Yeah. So
how is it?
So yeah, like I'd give it a 7.
Okay.
Yeah. Like it was fun. It was fun, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty good for someone who's not, they're not a writer, I guess, per
like
se,
a
like
book
you're
writer.
saying. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, but I thought it was good. I thought it was, there's more stuff I didn't touch on, but I think he has like a couple little behind the scenes stuff that people don't really know about, and a couple things he kind of clears the air about that people might have heard of,
especially if you know him or if you're following his career, I guess, a little more closely. But,
but so it was interesting.
So I mean, this is a little bit interesting though. On a scale of 1 to 10, in terms of, you know, do you want to become a singer? I guess, I don't know. But I think you could even talk about in terms of incorporating, like, hey, maybe find that thing that you really love to do and just pursue that. So is there anything that after reading this, you're like, you know what? When I was a kid, I used to play the flute and I want to be a flutist. I don't know, whatever. Is there anything that, you know, after reading this, you're like, you know what? Yeah, I want to dedicate my heart and soul to this.
Like,
it doesn't have to be. I'm not to put you on the spot here.
No, I think a little bit, and I think reading it, I think what really hit home for me was like, talent is not the end all and the be all. It's about putting in the hard work and the dedication, and that's part of the reason it made me think of like, I wanted to train for a half marathon this summer, and because it's like, I'm not the fastest and I don't expect to win. I mean, I'm 4 feet 11 inches tall. Yeah. I'm not winning a half marathon. Like, that's not going to happen for me. But it's not about that.
You might, especially if you're going against people the same age, right?
Yeah. But for me, like, it's not about that. It's about putting in the work and the dedication and even just beating myself. Like, when I did the half marathon, like,
it's you versus you
10 years ago, I did it in like 2 hours and 13 minutes. So now it's like, you know, being 10 years older, can I do it like a sub 2 hour?
Or even the same time.
Yeah, exactly. At the same time. So I think that's part of it, is just like, can I put that hard work in and achieve whatever goal I want? Yep. So, yeah.
Yep.
How about you? Are you gonna get the piano out, the guitar out?
Well, I'll have to go buy a guitar because I don't have one anymore.
Someone
which is
stole
stupid.
it.
Why do I? Yes, right. And then we had the other one that was all cracked up and that we got rid of. I do need to get a guitar back. I have been thinking a lot about have I talked to you about my plan for music? I don't think I have, eh?
No.
So I do have
always have all kinds of plans.
I do, yes. I do have some things in the work. Like, I'm all over the place here. I love the whole talk of, you know, finding what you love and putting your passion, like working hard. Like, I know I have the work ethic, but I also know that I don't work on the right things often, where I find that the work that I do is not helpful in terms of where it is that I want to go. And there's various reasons for that. Number one being, there's the financial reasons where, okay, well, sometimes I have to work on things that help me just make some money right now because we need money. And that goes back to what he was saying, like, when you fail early, it's less
impactftive in your life.
Yeah. So now, like, I know if I fail, then we don't have an apartment to live in. You know, we can't buy groceries, right? So I have to always kind of put that first.
Yeah.
But all that being said, talking about music and, you know, how I'm always listening to music, and music has always been a big part of my life, even if I'm not playing it. I do want to be able to find out how I can fit into my day, going back to those roots of just playing music, and even as a way of, not because I'm going to become the next Classified, but because I find it could just unwind me and put me into that state of just like enjoyment and happiness, you know, as opposed to like, oh, well, I got to do this work, I got to make this website. And it's just, you know, stuff is not, that's not what brings up the most passion for me.
And
and it's just a job, and it's like,
I think the thing
I don't want my job to just be a job either, right?
But I think the thing with you too is, like, you are always looking for an angle of how can I monetize this? And I keep telling you, I want you to
don't worry about that.
I want you to just enjoy and play music and learn to play piano, because to enjoy it, you don't have to make money all the time.
No, and I never think that I would make it. No, of course not. Of course not.
Yeah. So, and because the thing is like, you're so ridiculously talented, like, it's unreal. Like, no, because you just like get the keyboard, the piano, and you just start playing. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, how are you playing like this already? Like I can't. No, there's no way I could do like the 2-hand thing. It's like it's not happening for me.
Don't worry, I can't do it either. Yeah, but the thing is, again, it's always in my mind. It's like, well, yeah, if I could just right now, I'm just gonna play piano and music, and I'm gonna learn how to make all these beats on the computer and all this kind of stuff, and I'm just gonna do that all day every day. Yeah, I'm happy, but again, how long is that gonna last? 3 months until we have no more money, kind of thing, right? So
100%.
I can't.
Well, I'm not saying quit your job.
No, I know that. I know, but
yeah.
But again, like, if you look at what he's done, obviously he's like, oh, here's money for a year. Well, we try to do that with travel or whatever. Yeah. But like, if there was a thing where it's like, oh, well, here's, a year's worth of money. What could you do if I wanted to do music? Which I don't. But if I did, right? Oh, who knows? Maybe I would. Hey, maybe that'd be really cool. Maybe I could be somebody that, like a producer type thing, right? That just makes beats or whatever. That would be the kind of angle that I guess I would want to go at. So yeah, you always think of the angles of like, oh, well, how could I dedicate my life to this? Because I've never been able to just dedicate all my time towards some goal, because it's always been, well, you have a family, you have to work, and you have to all do these things. And unfortunately for me, my career or the work that I do is not where, that's not it, you know what I mean? So I'm not lucky in that sense. So, something that I do to pay the bills, and then whatever time else I could muster to do other things is what I do. So, yeah. But like this, like just us getting together and talking, like this is great. I love doing this.
I love it. Yeah, I love it too. So then maybe we could talk about how like encourage the kids, because obviously with you were not encouraged to do music or what you loved, what you're passionate about. So maybe we can talk about how we are different with the kids, with what they're passionate about.
Yeah, I mean, what did you want to say with that? I mean, obviously with Maya, she's very passionate about, she likes writing stories, but I think even now she likes drawing more. So what we did is we got like a drawable, like a tablet. Which you can draw on with just like a stylus pen. So she takes that and then she draws all the time. And then we get together and we sit down, and sometimes, like just the other week, we were watching, just YouTube videos, just having them playing of people drawing on tablets and learning and talking about different techniques and whatever, and just kind of encouraging to just draw. It's like, just draw as much as you want. You get some books or whatever. It's like, just have fun with it. And just do it. And I mean, they can spend hours and hours doing that stuff, and then, and then if they're going to be able to figure out, in a couple of years after they've been drawing for a couple of years, put it together in terms of like, oh, maybe I could make a living out of this, right? Something. Maybe I could start selling some digital prints. Maybe I can put my work out there on, you put your work out there on Instagram or whatever. And then, maybe an animation studio will see it at the end of the day or whatever, right? So we just kind of encourage them to pursue the things that they love to do, that you wouldn't think necessarily that could be a career. Because people are like, oh, you like to draw? Well, that's stupid. What are you going to do with that? Or oh, you like to play guitar? Well, that's stupid. No, you're not going to get anywhere with that. Like, of course you can. Like, why couldn't you? If anything, maybe it's even easier because there's less people trying to be the best rock star in the world than there is to be a stupid technician down at the bio. You know what I mean? Like you go like every university, there's like 1,000 people that graduate every year in every, for like a Bachelor of Science degree as an example. You're going to compete with hundreds of thousands of people for like how many jobs to like do what? That's why they pay like shit. But as opposed to being somebody who loves music and grinds it out and just like, oh, well, I'm going to play I'm going to sell my own records, and I'm going to do all, there's all kinds of ways to make money. It's like, that's better for me. I think there's probably less competition for that than there is for everything else. So I don't know. I think a lot of parents could use a different kind of shifted mindset for and I think people know now. People know that being a full-time YouTuber or whatever, like those are actual legit
jobs.
They're legit jobs and legit things that you can do. Although I think now being a full-time YouTuber is like a ridiculously hard thing to do.
Oh, I think so too.
But you don't have to be 10 million subscribers. But you can just have your fans that'll help support you, right? So
Patreon.
Exactly. So there's lots of different ways to do that. So, and if you have these creative skills, I think it should be encouraged. And
I think it's about how we as a society also value the arts, and I think that's important too. And we talked a little bit about that with Amanda Palmer, about how we value artists. And I think society needs artists. I think it's really important. So, you know
that like the arts and entertainment, like,
yeah,
you know, like even the actors and stuff, they're there to entertain us and
exactly,
make us forget about the things in the world.
Yeah. So, and I think it's important, like, you know, when we're encouraging both of them to do what they're passionate about, because Tristan loves writing about science fiction, but it's about also, like you said, like not being like yes men to them. Like, you know, this is what you need to change in your story, and you need to work on this and that and the other thing, but still being like, if you want this, if this is what you want to do, you can achieve it, but you have to put the work in.
Absolutely.
And that's what we were constantly saying to them. So
and we have our own personal differences between our own kids and how they approach criticism, whatever. That's into the weeds or whatever. You got to figure out what works for each kid in terms of how you can actually give them that constructive criticism and that motivation to keep going. Yeah.
And I think we're also in a really great position with being able to homeschool them and then focus on those things that are the most important to them and what their interests are. Whereas in school, I don't necessarily think you have that same freedom.
You wouldn't at all. You have no freedoms. So and I mean, our whole philosophy with homeschool, and I think we still need to work on this
100%,
but it's teach them the things that they need to know to be independent people. You know what I mean? Because I remember too, like you were saying, oh, you know, having problems with math and we're working on this concept or whatever. And then I'd just be like, yeah, I know math is important, but is that really important to know? Because you're doing this thing. I'm like, I don't even know how to do that. Like, I don't even remember how to do that. I don't think it's that important to know. But what they do need to know is they need to know how to be able to figure that out if it does come into play. So you need to have that critical thinking and that ability to learn how to learn. And if once they have that and they could do things like they can cook their own foods and they know how to clean their water, whatever, all the things that you would need just to
clean their water.
Well, like if they have contaminated water and they're out in the water, you know, and they have like...
just use that fun.
Yeah, I know, clean water. It sounds stupid. But just, you know, to survive. Not. I don't mean survival skills. Yeah, well, I don't... Get a lighter. But yeah, just those skills. Just like, I know it sounds stupid, but like, you know, the homemaker skills, stupid, right? Though. Like, you know, when they had like home ec was like, oh, it's like, no, you need to be able to cook. You need to be able to clean. You need to be able to keep your room and your whole space in order. Yeah. All that kind of, that's way more important than knowing how to be able to multiply matrices together.
I don't even know how to do that.
Well, you just, anyway, but you know what I mean, right? It's useless. For most people, unless you're like, you know, doing programming or whatever.
Of course.
So yeah, and then that being said, so they focus on knowing how to be like a competent person that can take care of themselves. Yes. And then the rest of the time you spend focusing on the skills that they want to learn, that they're interested in. Because you know what, I actually love drawing, or I love this, or whatever the hell it is that they love doing. Yeah. You know, even if it's sports, even if it was like, oh, I just love playing volleyball, let's play volleyball all the time. You know, not to say that they're going to be a professional volleyball player, but that's what you love doing. And there's so many more benefits to being an active, healthy individual. 100%. You know, so. Yeah. But this, the notion of it's school and university, and
that's the only way.
That's so antiquated, and that's terrible. Like I do not want my kids going to university at all. I know. At all. I know. You know, if they want to, because they figure they want to be something that you have to, then go ahead. Thing. But even now, it's insane with what they're teaching kids. I feel like it's just, universities are just these zones of indoctrination at this point. It is crazy. I won't get into it. Whatever, that's fine. Off the rails a little bit.
Off the beaten track. Off the beaten path, if you will.
Off the beaten path by Classified. Good way to reel me in there.
I would love to interview him. It would be so awesome.
That'd be fantastic.
So close. Really cool.
Sounds like a really good, just a good guy.
He just, I would just love to sit down and like have a beer with him. Like, he just sounds like super cool.
Well, no, I think you'd have to sit down and smoke a joint with him.
Yeah, probably.
I don't know if does he drink beer?
I don't know. You know what I mean. Just hang out.
No, I don't. Yeah. That's cool. Anyways, great read, great story. Yeah. Let's give it up top here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So proud of yourself.
So proud of
Look at that. That was fantastic. Classified, Off the Beaten Path. Give it a read.
It's really good. Give it a read. Totally recommend to read it. There's a lot of cool anecdotes and stories in there, especially if you're a huge fan. It's great.
Yeah,
it's
and I was going to say, if not, even if you just like to hear people's stories of kind of how they got successful, I think that's really, really great story.
It is.
So that's it. That's all we got.
Yeah.
We're done.
Cool.
We're signing off here. Thank you so much for watching.
Yep.
Thank you so much for listening, inviting us into your homes or into your ears, wherever that may be. Check us out, odumandandrea.com. And we'll see you next time.
See you next week.